Hello, welcome to another video of what makes this exercise great, and this is one that I use quite a lot with. I used to only use it with sporting people, but lately I've been using it with people of all ages for a number of reasons that I'm going to explain in this video. All right, so firstly let's have a look at how it works. So this is basically a squat press exercise with a barbell where I'm moving laterally side to side. All right, so there's quite a fair bit of coordination, quite a fair bit of skill. This video being in slow motion doesn't quite do it justice for how fast it actually moves, but just so you can get an idea of what I'm doing here. So more or less what I'm doing is I'm just lowering into a squat, and I've got the barbell and just pushing it from side to side. All right, so it's almost like a shoulder press that's moving sideways. Now, the things that make it great, obviously, like I'll start with the obvious things. I'm obviously going to be building some strength into the legs. So glutes, quads, hamstrings, even calves, because I'm moving a fair bit, adductors, pretty much everything in my legs. All right, so I've got obvious strength into the legs. All right, so there's a lot of this movement. Obviously, my arm is being involved in this, so there's a fair bit of strength that's being derived from that as well, and the core. All right, so it's a great strength exercise. There's no doubt about it. But it's so much better than that because of this. The things that really come into play a lot more are, firstly, coordination. All right, so I needed coordination to be able to change hands like that and be at the same time moving my feet in that. If I play it again for you, if I'm moving with my feet sort of shuffling side to side. So I'm having to multitask here. My brain is really going to be thinking mostly about or nearly entirely about what I'm doing with my hands, because that's way more complicated than what I'm doing with my feet. So firstly, I'm enhancing coordination, so neuromuscular strength and activation of the entire system to move efficiently. Secondly, moving laterally is where most people really struggle. This is where we see most of the injuries occur in lateral movements. So in knee, hip, ankle, that's where we see a lot of the lower limb injuries occur in sports, moving in that direction. All right, so that's really enhancing that. Thirdly, I'm going to need a fair bit of speed, all right, because if I don't have enough speed, I won't be able to transition that bar fast enough to get it in the air to move it to the other side. So if I just take it back for you. So I need to have a fair bit of speed and power. All right, without that, it just won't work. All right, so it's another area that a lot of people really have a strong weakness in. Another part of it, which is almost like agility on its own. So that if I remove the barbell out of it, just that skipping side to side is an agility movement. That's sort of where the power and speed comes into it again. But with the lateral directional movement, so if I'm running in straight line or jumping up in the air, it's quite simple. But when I'm moving laterally, it's the coordination in it tends to slow people down. So with all of the complication of the exercise, it's really demanding all of this to happen all at once. So at first, people really struggle with the footwork. I would say that's where it breaks down the most. I don't even worry about adding load to the barbell in the beginning. I just get them the feel of the bar and how to move efficiently. The skill of their squat has to be there. So if they have a poor squat, they're never going to get this right. And you'll see how I have to have that nice heel plant to be able to land off there. If I'm on my toes, which I also see quite a lot on this when people start out, it just goes pear-shaped really quick. All right, so the exercise is such a great movement for executing everything that you want to happen for people who are really struggling. So even our older adults, and really giving them that feeling of what dynamic movement feels like as opposed to static robotic exercises that we tend to do a lot of the time. That's probably the number one thing for me, I would say, which probably goes hand in hand with the neuromuscular, brain coordination thing that we spoke right about at the start. It'd be just getting people that feeling of really moving dynamically, not getting stuck standing still on the spot or kneeling on a bench or lying on a ball. They're all good exercises, but they don't really have that feeling where they apply to, you don't necessarily need to play sports, but having that freedom of movement, so having a speed to be able to move quickly because you want to, and really just getting a lot of the things that people are missing And that's probably the number one reason why I wanted to include this in this series of what makes this great. Some of the exercises I look at are simple, but obviously this one's quite complicated. But as I said at the start, I used to keep it just for sporting people, but I realised a lot of people really needed to move like this, and they'd never been shown, so how could they do it? So this is where it's a great addition to someone's exercise library. You don't really need to load up the bar a lot for you to feel it. You'll actually feel quite, probably another element to it that's that I tend to forget about is the fitness part. If you do a set of this and you do it at high speed, trust me, you'll be breathing heavy. So there's a real sort of aerobic fitness part that is the added bonus, really. It's all the other things that are more important to me when doing it, but the fitness part is definitely an element of it, right? So this is a great exercise that I would encourage you to learn, and obviously if you've got issues, it's probably not the best choice. It'd be something to do when you've worked through problems and you're really looking to improve your strength, but trying to improve neuromuscular strength instead of just static muscular hypertrophy. I find moving better like this is so much easier to do. The other things are just a piece of cake, really. They're so much simpler to do. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed that video, and it explains one reason why you might see this featured in a lot of our things that we do from time to time, and hopefully you can apply what I've spoken about and it helps you out with your training. All right, we'll see you on our next one.